very good question and a very tough question, because the variety of the culture, and also how to identify what is cultural sagas. Before we're doing any composition of editing of learning materials, we have to identify. Just we did now for the grammar-centered textbook. We need to see what is the essential structure of the language. So we need to do the research. So we need to do a lot of research on what is culture about and how to select the dominated culture. I think we cannot teach every culture, but we can find the most acceptable or common cultures. And then we'll find out what is the way to teach people. Like, okay, make another metaphor. When I talk about the American pronunciation, so I teach people in the Eastern Coast the pronunciation accent or Western Coast. So maybe we just select the Middle West. As this kind of pronunciation, like Chinese, who have different dialects. So what kind of things we teach people to speak, we select the Mandarin. So all this, we need the people do it. So American culture, of course, is very colorful, but we cannot teach every culture. So we have to select the most representative culture. So how to represent? Why this culture is represented? That's another issue. But there's questions. Okay, the questions, we have to answer it. Okay, we have to do research.
A lot of our students that we work with, it's English for academic purposes,
yes,
especially graduate students. They're in different departments.
Yes.
And so there are, quite frankly, different cultures in different departments, and we can't really address those, first of all, because maybe we don't know the cultures in the different departments. But it's not a very simple sort of notion, I would say. And especially when you have people with various backgrounds and going in various directions in the same classroom.
I totally agree with you. It's not a simple, it's not an easy notion or questions to answer. However, because in our current or in the past, the language learning, we don't have that part. Now, a story, I heard of a story, a salesperson went to Africa. He was very disappointed to come back. Nobody will choose the barefoot, barefooted. Another person went to Africa and said, wow, that's a huge market, come on. And they do the research, promote the shoes, and that person become millionaires. See, now we know that it is not an easy job to identify culture, to do analysis about cultures, and to develop a culture into learning materials. That's a hard job, but nobody did before. And then there's a huge market for us to do. That is our significance, our existence, our life. Because it is difficult, so should we do it or not do it? Should we follow the old path, or we create a new one with the challenges? If you think that is something worth of doing that, and something because there's a student from all over the world, doesn't mean they don't need to understand American culture. And we, even though it's too many students from different various difficult kind of a cultural background, that means we don't need to know them. They're only just to challenge us. We need to know more.
Can I add a point to that?
Yes, please.
And currently, one trend in our Department of Developing Materials, one trend in the under the curriculum or material development is community-based. Use one community as the base, so students perform in that community. So if you're familiar with Labov's work, children's development is from local to more general. So we're trying to utilize one community with the base community where students perform, achieve their intentions. So we're developing a series of materials like perform Hangzhou, perform Guangzhou, perform Chengdu, perform Qingdao, all different cities, and get familiar to how people achieve their intentions in that community. And then they will get to know the other general, more broad society. Just an idea.
He is the manager of that project. Perform cities, Chinese cities. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Could you explain a little bit more about the word saga, how you're using the word saga?
We probably have to start from the concept of performance. So just now, Dr. Li talked about a performance has the 5 basic elements: roles, scripts, place and time, and audience, right? So a performance is a concrete experience. You do something. And then in your memory, it becomes a story. You memorize it as like a story, has roles, intentions, actions. And sagas are a kind of category for stories. You categorize the stories according to the people or a particular place. For example, you may have a saga of a teacher. So all the stories that are related to what you do, what you did as a teacher becomes a saga of a teacher. And then, or you may have a saga of an office lady. So everything that happens in that office with this lady becomes the saga of office lady.
So it's very situated.
Very situated. So saga, we actually have another category, another way to categorize stories that's called cases. Yeah, these two concepts, like, for cases, you categorize it into like functions. Like shopping is a case. Like seeing a doctor, maybe a case. So different ways to categorize stories.
Thank you.
Yes.
Could you explain a little bit more about your use of the term autonomous when talking about textbooks? I guess I'm wondering, if I purchased the textbook and studied Chinese on the weekend by myself, how far would I get?
Autonomous means we provide all the audio programs, so you can listen to it. All the explanation teacher usually do in the classroom, you can find in this book. So, for example, the grammar, how are you? So we need to do a grammar, explanation. So you can find in the audio program, and also the demo how to pronounce ma 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 ma. So in the classroom, a very limited time, we cannot ask a student to master this kind of performances. But out of the classroom, you can do it repeatedly by yourself. Then the third one is we have a video program. You can see what's the behavior of the roles of the persona. People do it. People behave differently in Chinese situation than Americans. So we show you how to do it. So, and also all the homework or you have to do is in the materials. So every day we ask a student well prepared to come to class. We have 2 types of class. One is act, that's a performance. So you have to recite what you learned from the textbook and to show people you can do it. And then the second one is fact, F-A-C-T. So we talk about language, answer students' questions. So fact and act. Usually the ratio is 4:1. And plus the autonomous materials, the students get understanding the materials first. If they have questions, they ask questions in the class, fact class. But in the act class, no English is allowed. Students have to do it.
And we always specify in our syllabi that for every 1 hour class, you have to spend 2 hours for preparation. Because they have to be ready to perform. In class, they're just an opportunity for them to test out their hypothesis, to expose themselves to the teacher, see, how am I doing? Just like that. So they memorize a small performance and also practice with the decomposed functions. Like they will memorize a scene of greetings, and then in class. Following that scene, that core dialogue, there are a list of drills, focusing on each component, how they use in a particular context. Then the teacher, the first thing in the class, they have to perform the dialogue like this in front of a class,
Yes,
like a doctor
every day.
or a patient. After that, the teacher will create some different, similar context, not exactly the same from the textbook, to have them apply what they have performed on their own.
So from reciting to application. So, good question. So I hope you will be a student of Chinese. I'm thinking I did something wrong. I recruit my student now. Okay, please. Yeah.
The teaching principles also apply to teaching reading Chinese? That's
Yes, because I'm teaching high-level advanced Chinese. We just finished. The textbook reading materials is Confucius, Taoist, and the art of war. This is very 2,000 years ago written. Totally should be reading class. But what I did is I turned it into performance class. How could I do it? Because I'm not teaching dead language. I'm teaching a living language. The language is still alive. So I observe how people they use these classics in today's life. How do they quote? And in which way they quote it? And to whom they quote it? So I create all the situation and ask my students to do it. By doing it, they have to read it. They have to understand it. They know how to use it. So all the procedures into not only orally, but in written. So we have a paper, term paper, and now it's semester paper, and we have the written, about how to use certain expressions. So in reading, also in oral, both. The 4 skills, none will be, ignored. Thank you. Of course, that's a new field, very new. Usually there is use performance-based pedagogy used in the oral, language, spoken language mostly. But now we develop into a written language in this field.
Can I have a follow-up question?
Yes, sir.
So what is the future context that they would use that type of performance in from your class? I mean, our students, their future performance would be students in the university, or currently, but immediate future in some cases, because they're already students. Is
In
there something
in
similar?
our situation, it depends on the different level of students. Now, I just finished my teaching of graduate students. MA is a Chinese flagship student. Immediately they'll go to China. So they are immediately have a lot of opportunities for them to use classics. Confucius saying, if they use it correctly, they will get a big applause from Chinese. They say, wow, you know how to use that. That's great. So they get high scores. But remember, the really higher scores is not given by our teachers. It's given by the people in the target culture. We just prepare for their success in the target culture. We will not just give them high scores here. That's not just the beginning. Just like a commencement is a beginning. Okay? So a lot of teachers think about, I give this grade, that's the finished job. For us, that's the beginning for their really journey. Do they know how to use that? The knowledge or the skills we communicate with them. If they can, we are successful teacher. If not, we are failure. That is the only judgment we can get. It's not how much A or how many B they get. It's how well they can use that language in the target culture. Because our assessment test system is not good enough. Sometimes in a high, the student in my class get a higher score. In a way, they get lower scores from local Chinese people. because they don't understand the local culture enough. Some students, they didn't pronounce well, they have a heavy accent, but in China, because they learned how to do things with Chinese, they get higher scores from the local people. So, thank you. So for the normal students, just give them a try. Like they'll go to local Chinese school, communicate with Chinese and so on. So this kind of thing for the future. The future is to use it. Great.
Except for the community, I mean, in addition to that, so you have multiple outreach program where you still be able to control, evaluate your student performance in the future.
And so far, we're creating another system, right? We say the game system,
Oh, that, you
right? Your GSP, right?
grading.
Grading system and program, right?
Yeah,
So
it's
think
still-
about it, because we're going to send hundreds American students to China, different cities. So in the summer, and then we create a system, point system. We said if you do this, give you extra 20 points. If you ask the way, to local people, and you get success, then you get another 5 points. So tomorrow you place an order in a restaurant by yourself, you get additional 15 points. And now you invite the Chinese, to go to see a movie. If you successfully did that, another 2 points. So we build that and to stimulate the students' motivation. That is, we say the student-centered means first we need to build up or help the students have a higher motivation to learn Chinese or English. Without the motivation, that is a problem for this case in China. A lot of students, they don't have any motivation. They are forced to study English. So now we need to change.
The Chinese program in Ohio State University uses a daily grading system.
Yes.
Anybody of you familiar with that? Every class is 4 points. So they accumulate their daily grades towards the end of the semester. So that part will account about 80% of their final grade. And the other 20%, 10% for midterm interview, and 10% for the final term interview. The grading system Dr. Lee has mentioned is the system we're going to use for this summer for the study abroad program students. It's an improvement from last year's. Because last year we also used the daily grading system, but the students could only see a percentage. Because even if they accumulate like 3.5 out of 4, if they accumulate for like 7 days, the final score is still like 80-some percent. So this year with the grading system, it's not a percentage. It's accumulation. They will actually see a graph. Say, today is 4, and then 8, 12, or 4, 7.5, or then 11.5. They accumulate every day, so they only see progress. Whether they get 4 points or just 2 points a day, they see growth. That's the biggest advantage of the grading system. And besides the points they earn from classroom, they also earn from co-curriculum activities. Yeah, that's the idea.
How do you watch that process? Do they take that by themselves, or somebody?
The teacher have to enter grades into that system. We're creating a web-based system actually.
Based on the students self-pay for?
Yes, every teacher, after they teach 1 hour class, they have to grade the students based on their performance. We have performance criteria, 4 scale, 1, 2, 3, 4. So every day they have to enter a grade for that day's performance for that particular student. And every co-curricular activity they have earned, the resident director have to enter the point for that. So the student, if they log into that system, they can see their graph. Is that what you mean?
No. Are you talking about the one?
The
for
one in
summer?
China?
For summer in China?
Yeah, that's for some. Oh, for here we use Carmen. So
Yeah.
currently it's not as good as the grading system because students still say percentage that you could not help. We only can ask this OSU to try to adapt to a better system.
Okay.
Is this what you meant by the fifth change, moving from examination-oriented to action-oriented? So we're sort of assigning a grade or judging their performance based on
Yes.
their action in class?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, and next question, that's just, what other languages or in what other programs, universities, schools, countries is this approach being used? I hear a lot of Chinese, English. Are there other cultures that are using it that you know of?
Japanese, Korean,
Yes.
in our department.
Okay.
Yes.
And also there was Southern Florida University.
But that's also for teaching Chinese.
Yes, teaching
Or
Chinese.
were you asking for teaching other languages?
Yes, right. Japanese and Korean.
If for other language, we're using it with Japanese and Korean.
Maybe this one, use the Spanish, maybe not as critical with, because the Spanish, they belong to the similar or big cultural group. So the cultural differences not as striking as between the Chinese culture or East Asian culture and American culture. So maybe that is a lot of similarities. They focus more on the linguistic code. Now maybe.
In the flagship program, you bring in Chinese from the community to work. How did you use Chinese, the community members, to work with the students in the program?
Several things we are doing. Number one is ask students to be the teacher assistant, because there are students there, they know Chinese, and when they see foreigners can speak Chinese well, they will get motivated. And the second is in the working together with the Chinese teachers, they have to use Chinese language and in discussion the various topics. And then in that way, practice their Chinese, also learned from Chinese,
But the community people had a specific background, so if you were interested in Chinese law, they would bring in someone
Yeah, a lot
Yes,
who
of
knew
right,
Chinese
right.
law.
We have a kind of a major, or we have one
mentor system.
mentor system. Each student will have one mentor, and to guide that person in a specific field. Thank you.
I have another question. This one relates again to reading. Since this is culturally based, do you use texts that have been adapted to be at a reading level that students can handle, or is it something that's entirely from the culture and authentic?
Mostly authentic.
Uh-huh.
But the target is always an authentic text. But following that target, we probably have some scaffolding activities with material that is adapted, like to build them towards that target text.
Are the nature of the text academic type writing or literature? What types of things?
It depends on the level of students. From the very beginning level, they will read those cultural artifacts that includes fewer characters, or like more commonly used in daily life, like business cards or menu, or like small short notes, like memo, that kind of thing. And for higher level students, we have novel, right? Just now the Spring Grass, it has a audio program and an interactive video program the student could use, read with.
I guess I'm kind of interested in the middle.
Actually, she is also doing another project, is intermediate Chinese. That is beauty.
The Beauty in Memory.
Yeah, Beauty
It's
in the Memory is
yeah.
a cartoon book.
From next semester, we're going
Right.
to use a
See, that is intermediate.
graphic novel
Yeah, graphic novel.
for intermediate level. That novel, the original novel is actually a serious novel. It has background in Cultural Revolution, so it's pretty serious. But Chinese, some Chinese author has adapted it to a graphic novel. It's still, it has a combination of conversation bubbles and the narrations. So there are more images than texts. So we're trying to introduce this kind of material to students, and we have developed a lot of scaffolding materials to help them summarize, retelling, and work with the characters, with the phrases, and yeah, that kind of thing. And also improvise performances based on the text.
So our center, let me see that, there's a page here for the, which one? Okay, we have a pipeline from K to 12 and to advanced. Now, the most advanced is MA program. So that is classical Chinese. And more advanced is the novel, and the TV series is Spring Grass. That is a 5th year Chinese. And the program she is working on is 2 to 3.
Yeah,
2 to 3 years. And this one is for first year. This one is for first year. So
That's spoken.
Yeah, spoken. And from Unit 3, we started from writing.
Oh, that's introducing the
Yes,
character
right.
system.
Character system.
And the beginning level
Yeah.
reading writing is mostly based on what they have already learned to say. So the text they have learned to say, conversation scripts, and then converting those conversation scripts into narrations. So it's very controlled, kind of.
But we try to build up a series from the beginning, early age to the most advanced.
There was
Your last question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was really curious about the presentations you had in the video. Can you describe what the students were doing and a little bit more about that assignment in that video that didn't work?
Well, that one is kind of a video clips about student performance.
That textbook in particular, or?
No, so the video on the presentation. I was curious
that's
about
why.
the
Spring grass?
Yeah, I was like, what were they doing in those videos? What was the performance they were doing? And then what?
I taught that course before. Is what we did is ask them to, one is to retell the story in their own words. That's the first one. Second one is write their own stories following the Chinese method of thinking. Chinese way look at the world is different from the American way looking for the world. So we need to identify what the differences and try to help them to follow that way. So our goal is to develop a second world view. Enrich their personality. So by doing that, we have a lot of tasks, homeworks built up step by step. So that is one step, is ask them to write what they can see from their point of view and as well from Chinese point of view.
Minru, like what Pat McAloon was doing, like what was his performance?
Yes, yes.
That's what he was doing?
You're right, right. He is doing that.
Macalon was doing in the competition.
That is
Chinese
a
bridge
Chinese bridge competition.
in China. That
In
is
China.
owned by
Yes.
Hunan's TV
No, that is,
station.
yeah,
Was that-
yeah, by Chinese central government, the highest level of competition.
It's an annual competition.
Yeah.
Usually happen in summer.
Yes.
Almost
I know for
every-
several years your students got first, second, and third in that
Yeah.
Yeah,
in
that's,
a row.
yeah, right. That's why I like to show you how well they did.
They're just doing speeches.
Speeches and other performances like they,
What are
they
the other
sing,
performances?
They sing whatever they are good at, like duet or like a local art, like I can all kind of
Stellato, what's Stellato
Yes,
do?
the other do.
What's he do?
快板.
It's kind of like a fast talk.
Spoons.
Fast talk.
Yeah.
He learned very well.
It's folk art.
Yes.
It's very particular.
But most importantly, our students can perform not only on the stage, but in daily life quite well. Like McAloon, when they talk with him, I never tell, I'm talking with a foreigner. So his behavior, even shaking hand, the distance in talking, and the way they accept things or to deliver things to you, very Chinese style. And he can perform a different persona when he's speak English, you can see a different person. And when they talk in Chinese, you can see different. So they already understand the differences. So like we have a cheese, toast, right? Chinese toast is, and there's one is a senior person, and the students, you have the lower. You cannot just do this.
Hold it both hands.
You know, hold it, you know, and then they have learned it. And when you serve your tea, you need koto, you know. So all the small behavior, the tiny things, we need to teach them, and they got it, and then well accepted by Chinese. So that kind of tips.
Thank you so much. We're almost done with the very impressive presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, so today is the first time, so I hope I can be more, you know, come here more often and give me a chance to be a student for whole life. Thank you.
I used to be a student in this department.